Okay. How many of you dream of fame and fortune? Well, the world-famous Hollywood sign in Los Angeles, California, inspired people to do just that. The Hollywood sign is an iconic landmark located on a mountain in the Hollywood Hills. The story of the history behind the Hollywood sign has many twists and turns. The Hollywood sign was first built in 1923. Do you know what it said? The sign actually said Hollywoodland. Its original purpose was to advertise for a housing development owned by real estate developers Woodruff and Schultz. The new development was located above the hills of the Hollywood district of Chinatown. The sign was only intended to last about 1 year, but after the rise of the movie industry in Hollywood, the sign became an internationally recognized symbol representing the glitz and the glamour of Hollywood and was left there. Over the course of time, the sign stands only for about 1 year, sustained extensive damage and deterioration. In 1949, the city of Los Angeles decided to repair and rebuild the sign. However, they removed the word land to read Hollywood. In 1979, the Chamber of Commerce decided to fully restore the sign that has once again been fallen apart and vandalized. 9 different people and organizations donated money to restore the sign to what it is today. The new letters were impressive 45 feet tall and 39 feet wide. People from all around the world come to visit Hollywood and see the sign. The Hollywood sign is now protected by fences and a security system to keep people from vandalizing it. The best locations to see the Hollywood sign are at the Griffith Observatory and the Hollywood Highland Center. But for adventurous, there's a hiking trail to the sign. You can also see the Hollywood sign in many movies and TV shows. Whether you're a resident, a tourist, or just a passerby, it's hard not to take a glance at this awesome landmark. Through the years, this enormous landmark has evolved through changes, restoration, and preservation. Like the many people who have visited the Hollywood sign, I plan on one day to hike up to it. Won't you join me?
Imagine a world where in an instant you can be turned to stone by looking into the eyes of a monster, where a hero can wrestle a lion, or where the sun is driven across the sky by a chariot. A place where unicorns exist. A time where people believed in gods and goddesses like Zeus, the god of the sky, Poseidon, the god of the sea, or Athena, the goddess of wisdom. Well, all this exists in the magical world of Greek mythology. These ancient stories from Greece are full of legendary monsters, powerful heroes, and life lessons. Cover your eyes, quick! It's the great Gorgon Medusa. If you look in her eyes, you will turn to stone. Greek mythology is full of dangerous monsters. Medusa lived in a cave and had hair made of poisonous snakes. Another terrifying monster is the Nemean lion, whose fur was immune to all weapons. Its claws were sharper than swords and could cut through armor. If you think those two are scary, I got another one for you. It has sharp horns, burning red eyes, the head of a bull, and the body of a man. It caused terror and destruction wherever it went. Can you guess what it is? It's the Minotaur. This beast was locked inside the impossible maze of the labyrinth, but some were brave enough to fight these beasts. They were the Greek heroes. Greek mythology is full of courageous heroes. Perseus fought Medusa. He looked at her reflection through his shield and slayed her with his sword. Hercules was the strongest man ever to walk the earth. At first he shot arrows at the Nemean lion, but the arrows just bounced off. He dropped the bow and ran straight for the lion with his bare fists. I don't need to get into the gruesome details, but let's just say that Hercules had a brand new fur coat. If Hercules was the strongest, then Theseus must be the smartest. He volunteered to go into the labyrinth and save 14 children. No one had ever made it out of that maze alive, but our brainy hero tied a string to the door to find his way out. Behind each of these thrilling stories is always a valuable life lesson. From Hercules, we learn the value of hard work and to never give up. Perseus teaches us to be creative to solve problems, like using Medusa's reflection against her. And Theseus teaches us to sacrifice for others and that nothing is impossible, even the labyrinth. Sometimes the greatest obstacles can be solved with the simplest solutions, like a string. The Greek heroes taught us to follow your heart, never give up, and to help others. The world of Greek mythology is full of scary monsters, exciting heroes, and valuable life lessons. Medusa could turn anyone to stone until Perseus came along. The Nemean lion was an invincible beast, that is, until it met the great hero Hercules. And the Minotaur ruled the entire labyrinth until Theseus risked his life to save others. These stories are so exciting, but they also teach us to work hard, never give up, help others, and not only use our muscles, but our brains. Open the books of mythology and let the world come alive for you. Now run. It's the Minotaur.
I'm a kid, and kids love to have fun. I run, play, ride horses, and explore the world around me. That's what kids do. We are so lucky to have a playground 15 miles from Santa Clarita, where all this can be done, and even more. It has a violent past, but it's not a quiet place to visit and enjoy. That playground is Vasquez Rocks. The rocks were formed millions of years ago in a surprising way. Many historical events happened there that helped our valley grow. And today, visiting Vasquez Rocks means lots of fun to lots of people. 25 million years ago, there were volcanoes where Vasquez Rocks is today. While they were erupting, there were also earthquakes happening. The earth was lifted up, and when the softer rocks were washed away, the jagged rocks we see today were left. It has looked the same for the last 10 million years. But the Taman Indians made their home at Vasquez Rocks for about 2,000 years. They traded with other Indian tribes. They had no written language, so they drew pictures onto rocks. You can still see some today, which is pretty exciting. The Spanish came next, followed by miners, looking for gold and silver. They mostly found borax, or white gold used in laundry soaps. The mines gave many people jobs and brought more money to the Santa Clarita area. Later, an outlaw named Vasquez stole horses and killed several people. He and his men would hide out in the rocks, and the lawmen could not find him. That was how Vasquez Rocks got its name. He was finally hanged in 1875 when he was only 39 years old. Vasquez Rocks today is one of the most popular parks in Los Angeles. Ranger Mike told me that hundreds of people come every year to hike, picnic, camp, and ride horses. I ride horses there, my friends. I've also hiked there with my cousins. You can even have small weddings there. About 2,500 people come to the Easter sunrise service. Another great thing about Vasquez Rocks is there are famous movies such as Star Trek and Planet of the Apes have been filmed there, along with many TV shows and commercials. Just about everyone has seen Vasquez Rocks in one of them, even if they don't realize it. As you can see, Vasquez Rocks is awesome. The way it was built, its colorful history, and the fun place it is today make it one of Santa Clarita's most popular landmarks. Thank you.
Buddy Bites, first I want you to scratch your head. Now look beneath your fingernails. What do you see? Maybe some dirt or gravel? Well, if you had a microscope, you could see hundreds of little creatures. These creatures crawl out on your face and skin at night. These creatures are called mites. Many people think that mites are insects. They're not. They're actually arachnids, like spiders and ticks. Mites can live in some pretty weird places, like the eyeballs of bats, ears of moths, and even the lungs of snakes. They can live in ponds, lakes, and even the depths of the ocean. Some mites live in the soil outside, which we step on every single day. Some of them are so small that you cannot see them with the naked eye. You can only see them with a microscope. Some of them are so small, even smaller than the ones you cannot see with the you can only see with a microscope, that more than a dozen of them could dance on the head of a pin. Some mites live in cheese. Mites that are found on humans live in the follicles of our hair, which is everywhere on our body. At night, they crawl out of the follicles to mate. By day, they return to the hair follicles to eat your dead skin. One hair follicle is home to a whole mite family. Even though small, mites have some pretty awesome abilities, like some can run as fast as a cheetah. Soil mites can tunnel through the ground at 10 miles an hour. Some mites that live in the grass can clone itself. Some mites that can float through the clouds on tiny pieces of silk which they produce. One day, mite powers might be able to help humans. Mites are all around us, and were living before humans. In fact, they were the first land animal alive. So, if my speech made you itchy, just relax. Mites are going to be with you for a long time.
Did you know that there was once a boy that dressed in his mom's clothes and had a conversation with his own mom for 7 minutes before her realizing it was her son? Today I will share some interesting facts about Walt Disney. Did you know that Walt Disney was born before the computer, TV, radio, and even the movie theaters? Most homes didn't have electricity yet. Walt Disney was born in Chicago, December 5th, 1901. At that time, there were people like the Wright brothers who believed they could build a flying machine, which later became the airplane. When Walt got older, he would do anything for attention, and his friends loved his performances. When he was an adult, he created Mickey Mouse. But that wasn't his first choice for his name. First, his name was Mortimer Mouse. But his wife, Lily, suggested a cuter name for the mouse, such as Mickey. Thankfully, Walt agreed with her, and a star was born. Mickey was skinny with stick-like legs, a long tail, and a sharp face. He didn't look like the Mickey we know and love today. He also wasn't that nice. Early cartoons showed Mickey playing mean tricks on the other characters, so he changed Mickey to be nice. Walt saw he needed a different greedy character, so he created Donald Duck. Soon Walt teamed up with another artist that had an unusual name, Ub. Ub was serious and shy, not like Walt at all. When the cartoon would get popular, Ub would present something new. If Walt liked it, he would jump up and down. If he didn't, he would raise one eyebrow up. Before long, everybody knew if Walt's eyebrow was up, he wasn't happy. One day, Walt thought even bigger. What if there was a place for families, not just kids, could have fun together? It would be an amusement park, but cleaner, nicer, bigger, and better. And that became Disneyland. Walt wanted Disneyland to be built by the studios in Burbank, but the longer he waited, the more ideas he came up with. Soon, there was no room for Disneyland to be built by the studios, so they decided to open in a bigger area. Walt finally made his dreams come true on opening Disneyland July 17th, 1955. Unfortunately, Walt died soon after of lung cancer, December 15th, 1966. The last words ever written by Walt was Kurt Russell. When Disney was suffering of lung cancer, nearly the end of his life, he scrawled up a piece of paper and wrote the name Kurt Russell. To this day, no one knows what Walt was trying to say. The next time you visit Disneyland, make sure you look above the fire station on Main Street. You will see a small light on. This light is kept on to honor this amazing dream maker. I hope you have a chance to see this amazing light.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Akeem, and I'm giving a speech about LeBron James, the famous basketball player from Cleveland. My speech will inform you about how LeBron James is the best player ever. LeBron was born on December 30th, 1984, in a small town called Akron, Ohio. He was raised by his mother, Gloria. They were happy together even though they did not have a lot of money. One Christmas, LeBron got a basketball hoop as a gift from his mother. He practiced every day and started to get better and better. One day his mom put the hoop as high as it could go, and though LeBron had never been able to make a shot, on that day he jumped high and made a slam dunk. That's when he showed an early talent for basketball. After a few years, LeBron and his mom moved to Cleveland because they could no longer afford the house they lived in Akron. It was when he moved to Cleveland to go to school that he became popular and built a legacy as a celebrity basketball player in high school. LeBron was the first player picked in the 2003 NBA draft pick by the Cleveland Cavaliers. In the 2003-2004 season of basketball, he became the first basketball member of the Cavalier franchise. He was the youngest player at the age of 20 to be the winner of the Rookie of the Year award. LeBron played on the 2004, 2008, and 2012 U.S. Olympic teams, winning a team bronze medal and 2 team gold medals. In 2012 through 2013, LeBron James joined the Miami Heat, helping to lead them to NBA championship victories. He also achieved a number of NBA records, including becoming the youngest player to make 20,000 points at the age of 28. In 2014, it was announced that LeBron Ramon James will return to the Cavaliers. LeBron established a nice family after getting married to Savannah Brinson and having children. LeBron James inspires me to play basketball. My dreams is to become an NBA star too. Thank you.
Nelson Mandela was a great man, but that's just my opinion. He fought for liberty and for human rights. Nelson Mandela was a South African activist and former president who helped bring an end to apartheid. First, I'm going to talk to you about his childhood, then his adulthood, and finally his accomplishments. Nelson was born in South Africa in a small village called Kwana on July 18, 1918, into the royal family of the Thembu tribe, where his father was the chief and his great-grandfather was the king. They gave him the name Roli Halahala, which means the one who brings trouble to himself, as his tribal name. He was the youngest and only boy out of the 4. Since he was the only boy, he would help his father raise the cattle and sheep they owned and plow the fields. In his free time, he liked to hunt, fight with sticks, and play soccer. He also liked to listen to the elders tell stories of African history. When he was 12, he was heartbroken by his father's death. When he was 20, he enrolled at Fort Hare College, which was the only college that allowed black students. But the next year, he was expelled for being in a strike against university policies. Nelson continued to be interested in politics and current affairs and decided to become a lawyer. He thought by becoming a lawyer, he could stand up for blacks' rights. His uncle also thought it was time for Nelson to marry, but Nelson didn't want to get married, so the only thing he could do was run away. Later, Nelson got married to a woman named Evelyn Mass and had 4 children, but then divorced. Then, in 1958, Nelson got married to Winnie Mandela and had 2 lovely daughters. Nelson continued to fight for blacks' rights and opened many programs that helped them. But in 1962, he was in prison with 8 others for 27 years. He was imprisoned on Robben Island, where he was beaten there every day. Finally, in 1990, he was released. Nelson established a multiracial government and ended apartheid. He became the first black president of South Africa. These are just some of his amazing accomplishments. Nelson was a great man because of what he did for South Africa's rights and ending apartheid. I have shared with you his childhood, adulthood, and accomplishments. Research shows that Nelson was tortured and beaten in every kind of way but still had one thing left: hope. I chose Nelson because of the choices he made and the hope he has shared with all of us. Thank you.
Have you ever heard of the Dust Bowl? It is considered one of the worst droughts in United States history. It occurred at the same time the United States was suffering from the Great Depression. It was a very difficult time for people all over this country. During this period, many people had lost their jobs, homes, and had little to no food to feed themselves and their families. In this presentation, I will talk about the Dust Bowl, when and where it occurred, its causes, and finally how it ended. The Dust Bowl happened in the Great Plains of the United States and included a 150,000 square mile area. The states it affected were parts of Colorado, Kansas, Texas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma. It occurred between 1931 and 1939. During this time, the presidents of the United States were Herbert Hoover and Franklin D. Roosevelt. The causes of the Dust Bowl were both man-made and natural. For example, farmers replaced all natural grasses with wheat using tractors. This resulted in the overplowing of the soil. In addition, extensive cattle farming and sheep ranching left much of the West bare of natural grasses and shrubs to anchor the soil. Both resulted in the overgrazing of the southern plains. When a serious drought hit this region, all the wheat died. The soil didn't have the stronger root system of grass as an anchor, so the winds easily picked up all the loose topsoil and swirled it into dust clouds called black blizzards. Also, jackrabbits and swarms of grasshoppers quickly consumed everything that was able to grow. The National Guard was called to crush grasshoppers and burn grasshopper-infested fields. This drove 60% of the population away from the region. The Dust Bowl affected people's health in many different ways. Whoever inhaled the prairie dust in the air suffered from coughing spasms, shortness of breath, asthma, bronchitis, and the flu. Dust ammonia, called the brown plague, killed hundreds and was especially lethal for infants, children, and the elderly. As you can see, it was very dangerous. A famous writer named John Steinbeck wrote a book about migrating farmers in his 1939 prize-winning novel, The Grapes of Wrath. The novel doesn't mention that 3/4 of farmers and families stayed put and did not flee the Dust Bowl. In Oklahoma, 16,000 out of 1.2 million people stayed put and did not flee the Dust Bowl. Many of these came to California. Many of these migrants, regardless of which state they came from, were called Okies, a short name for people from the state of Oklahoma. In fact, 1/5 of these people were actually from Oklahoma, even though the name Okie was used for all migrants fleeing the Dust Bowl region. The Dust Bowl got its name from a newspaper reporter named Robert Geiger. Following the disastrous Black Sunday storm in April of 1935, Geiger referred to the area as the Dust Bowl in describing the disastrous storm that spread from Canada to Texas. In desperation, Dust Bowl residents tried many solutions that were out of the box in an attempt to make it rain. For example, some farmers in one Texas town paid $500 to a rainmaker to set off fireworks loaded with dynamite into the sky to create rain showers. In conclusion, to conquer this never-ending drought, in March of 1938, President Franklin D. Roosevelt's Shelter Belt Project begins. The project called for a large-scale planting of trees in rows from Canada to northern Texas to create a barrier from the high winds and to protect the land from further destruction. It cost $75 million over 12 years and resulted in a 65% reduction in the amount of soil blowing in its destruction. Finally, in the fall of 1939, the rain came, ending the 8-year drought. Farmers began to successfully grow many crops, and ranchers began to increase the number of cattle, sheep, goats, pigs, and other livestock on their lands.
How many of you have a teenager living in your house? You? I feel your pain. I have a teenage brother and a teenage sister. So we all know what they do all day, right? Use their cell phones. In fact, I rarely ever see my sister without her cell phone in her hand. But what is she doing? Well, she's texting her friends, sending emails, streaming videos on YouTube, checking movie schedules and sports scores. It seems like she can't live without her cell phone. And how does she do all that? With Wi-Fi, of course. So, what exactly is Wi-Fi? Well, first of all, Wi-Fi stands for wireless fidelity. It's a local area wireless technology that allows your device, like a phone, a tablet, an iTouch, or a laptop, to participate in computer networking using radio waves. This means you don't have to use a cord to connect your device to a computer in order to use the internet. But be careful because Wi-Fi networks are local, which means they're a relatively small range. If you leave the Wi-Fi area, you lose your internet. What do you use Wi-Fi for anyway? You use Wi-Fi for all sorts of things, like sharing music with a friend, updating your status on Facebook, or posting pictures on your Instagram. What do you need to make Wi-Fi work? Well, you need a transmitter. That's the one that sends the signal. A receiver. That's the one that receives the signal. A mobile device. And a base station connected to the internet. How does Wi-Fi work? To help explain how Wi-Fi works, let me describe what happens when you do an internet search. First, you type what you're searching for, or you tell Siri. Next, the transmitter in your device converts it into radio waves and sends it out of your device. After that, the receiver in the base station picks up the radio waves and sends your search to the internet. After that, the base station receives the response to your search from the internet and converts it into radio waves. Finally, the receiver in your device picks up the radio waves and the response to your search appears on your screen. Whether you're a 1-year-old that's being watched on a Wi-Fi baby monitor or a 100-year-old that's FaceTiming their great-grandchildren, everyone can use Wi-Fi. I'm going to use Wi-Fi later today to buy the new Taylor Swift album. Oh, does that mean I'm a teenager in training? I hope you learned something about this awesome thing we call Wi-Fi. Thank you.
Have you ever had a Wockets in your pockets? Or cats in your hats? Well, I know a man who did. Today, I will be talking all about Theodore Geisel, better known as Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss was born on March 2nd, 1904 in Springfield, Massachusetts. His real name was Theodore Seuss Geisel, but his family called him Ted. He had a sister who was 2 years older and liked to scare him. His father volunteered at the Forest Park Zoo, and Ted and his sister grew up running around the park. After spending time at the zoo, Ted would come back and draw pictures of the animals he saw. His mother encouraged him and brought him scraps of paper to draw on. But his pictures did not look like the animals from the zoo. He used them as inspiration, but created his own version of them. One of his creatures had ears that were 3 yards long. When Ted was a kid, his sister died of pneumonia. He missed her a lot, but his parents encouraged him to keep drawing. When Ted was 6, he found a drawing reading. His favorite book was the whole book. He loved it so much that he had it memorized. As Ted grew up, he liked playing with words and creating his own words. He liked to give the animals he drew weird names. In 1917, during World War I, Ted sold stamps and Liberty bonds to help raise money. At age 13, this earned him a medal from President Roosevelt. In high school, Ted was terrible at sports and was very shy. His favorite thing to do was to make his friends laugh with his funny words and drawings. Ted's English teacher helped him turn his words and drawings into stories and poems. Once graduation came, Ted decided to attend the same college as his favorite English teacher, Red Smith. He enrolled in Dartmouth College, and during this time, he wrote poems and drew cartoons for the college newspapers. It was at this time that he had made a new name for himself, Seuss. Once he graduated, he married his friend Helen and began selling his cartoons to magazines and newspapers. A magazine called Judge always spotted his work, and he began signing his work as Dr. Seuss. After this, Ted began working on turning his cartoons into poems and stories. In 1937, he had published his first book.
and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. After this, Ted began working on finding more topics for his children's books. In 1957, he was officially known as Dr. Seuss. During this year, he had his great inspiration for The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. He had started thinking about the meaning of Christmas and how people had changed the spirit of the season by making about gifts. He wanted everyone to think about love. Dr. Seuss sat down and wrote The Grinch Who Stole Christmas in 1 week. He said that the Grinch was one of his favorite characters, and he got the idea for the name from a card that said Grinch on its license plate. After this came The Cat in the Hat. Dr. Seuss publishing company Random House gave him a list of 223 easy-to-read words that they wanted him to include in his next book. It took him 9 months to write it, and The Cat in the Hat was born because they are the first 2 words on his list that rhymed. Throughout his life, Dr. Seuss had wrote and illustrated 48 books. On Tuesday, September 24th, 1991, Dr. Seuss died of throat cancer. Even though he is no longer with us, he is dearly loved and remembered by all. His books inspire children to try new things and see all the places they can go. Thank you for listening to my speech.
Do you know what flies in the sky and has an eye like a big, scary cyclops? Well, if you don't, here's a hint. One of them is called Sandy. Still can't figure it out? Well, I am going to inform you all about amazing hurricanes. A hurricane is one of the most severe natural disasters that can cause indescribable devastation. A hurricane's wind speed can increase from 75 to about 200 miles per hour. That's fast. A hurricane can last for more than a week. That's a pretty long time. Water from the ocean can increase the movement of a hurricane because of the eye. The eye is the center point of every hurricane. It is probably the calmest part because it only contains light winds and fair weathers. The eye is truly amazing. If you are wondering how a hurricane forms, this part is for you. Hurricanes always form on top of tropical waters when they are 80 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer. The water must be warm in order for a hurricane to form. One of the most important factors of the development of a hurricane is the Coriolis effect. The Coriolis effect is when it causes a hurricane to spiral in a certain direction. However, hurricanes always spiral counterclockwise because of the jet stream. But there is one slight problem. The Coriolis effect can't form near the equator. The pressure of the winds there aren't strong enough. But on the other hand, the people that live there are pretty lucky. Breaking news! Are you excited for summer vacation? Well, be aware. Hurricane season is from June 1st to November 30th. But some hurricanes occur during the fall time. Some examples of the most destructive hurricanes are Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Katrina, and Hurricane Ellen. If you don't want to get hurt by a hurricane, follow these very simple tips. Call for help, stay calm, and of course, for your safety, don't go outdoors. Overall, hurricanes are very interesting, but can still cause unimaginable destruction. So when the news forecasts a hurricane, don't look that cyclops in the eye. Instead, run for cover. Thank you.
Just say no is perhaps the most famous catchphrase in history for helping kids say no to drugs. Unfortunately, when Nancy Reagan became the 40th First Lady of the United States, most of the country just said no to her. She was not very well liked when she moved into the White House. But with her long history of hard work, family values, and strong desire to help others, she became one of the most loved First Ladies in U.S. history. Anne Frances Robbins was born in New York City on July 6, 1921. Everyone called her Nancy. She was an only child, and her parents got divorced soon after she was born. Her parents were Edith Lisette Robbins and Kenneth Robbins. As she grew up, she dreamed of being an actress, and in 1949, she moved to Los Angeles to become a movie star. She signed a contract with MGM Studios and starred in 11 movies. Life was great for Nancy, but she always felt like something was missing. More than anything, she wanted to fall in love and start a family. While working on one of those movies, Nancy met a handsome, athletic movie star named Ronald Reagan. It didn't take long for them to fall in love, get married, and fulfill her dream of starting a family. They had 2 children, Patty and Ron, and she soon decided to leave her career as an actress and become a full-time stay-at-home mom so she could raise her family the way she always dreamed. Her husband was very interested in politics, and in 1966, Ronald Reagan was elected governor of California. In 1980, Ronald Reagan became the 40th president of the United States. Nancy was so excited to be First Lady because she knew that would give her the power to help so many Americans who needed someone to stand up for them. The Reagans moved into the White House, and Nancy wasn't thrilled with the condition of their home. So, she decided to make some serious renovations. But that didn't go over very well with the country because the economy wasn't doing very well. Nancy Reagan had a lot of style, and she used her skills to lift up the most important home in the United States. She wore expensive and fashionable clothes and arranged beautiful and expensive parties. But many people complained that she didn't understand what it was like to be a normal American. They always left out the countless hours she spent helping others and creating programs to help people in need. It took years for people to realize how powerful her style, her fashion, and her programs were for lifting up spirits and lifting up the image of Americans all around the world. Nothing she did made more of a difference than her campaign to keep kids across America from taking drugs. She saw that 40% of American students had taken drugs before graduating. She knew this was a big problem, so she developed a campaign that would be simple and easy to understand. She told everyone, when someone offers you a drug, just say no. This slogan caught fire in America, and within a few years, the number of students who had tried drugs before graduating went down from 40% to 14%. She empowered students to say no, and she inspired others to fight against drugs. By 1987, the American people voted Nancy Reagan the most admired woman in the world. It was a long, hard road to the White House for the Reagans, and the end wasn't any easier. In 1994, they learned that Ronald Reagan had a disease called Alzheimer's, and he would soon not know who anyone in his life was. As we know, family was everything to Nancy, and for the next 10 years, she never left Ronald's side. Caring for others, hard work, and caring for her family, that's all Nancy Reagan ever wanted to do. And there's no doubt, she always did it with love, and she did it with style.
I'm laying here, and I look up, and there it is. The biggest, longest snake I have ever seen. It's slithering toward me. What do? Stay still? Run? My heart is racing. My eyes open. Then I see clouds and blue sky at my bedroom window. I'm awake, and lucky for me, it was just a dream. What are dreams, and why do we have them? What do our dreams mean? Dreams are a unique mental experience. Here's what happens. Your brain sends chemicals that slows your breathing. Your body becomes still and your eyelids become heavy. Then you fall asleep. While your body is shut down for sleep, your brain is wide awake. You enter a world where space and time disappear. You may come face to face with wizards, monsters, and killers, or you may see rainbows, unicorns, and Skittles. Research shows that even though you may not remember your dream, everyone dreams several times a night. In fact, the average person dreams a total of 1 to 2 hours per night. This means a person who is 30 has spent 2 full years dreaming. Before you get to dreaming, you have to fall asleep. There are 5 stages in the sleep cycle. The first step is a light sleep. The second stage takes you into a deeper sleep. In stages 3 and 4, your sleep gets even deeper, and now the fun begins. The final stage is called REM sleep. Your heart rate and breathing quickens, your blood pressure rises, and your body becomes paralyzed, which stops us from physically acting out our dreams. This is very important. If you're sleeping next to someone who is dreaming about playing soccer, you might get kicked over and over again, unless your body was turned off. So why do we dream? There are many theories. The father of psychotherapy, Sigmund Freud, believed our dreams were a reflection on our deepest desires and anxieties. He thought they were related to childhood memories or obsessions. Likewise, some other researchers believe that dreams help us work out our problems from our daily lives. Still, others believe that dreams help us clear out ridiculous and irrational thoughts from our minds so we can think clearly when we are awake. We can assume dreams are most likely a combination of all of them. Have you ever wondered what your dreams mean? There are some common themes that many people dream about. You are falling, 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 and then you wake up. This type of dream means that you could be anxious or insecure about something. Another common dream is taking a test, but you are running through the halls and can't find the classroom. How frustrating. This could mean you are being judged or feel tested. Then there is the worst kind of dream, a nightmare. Nightmares are dreams that are so scary and upsetting that they usually wake you up. They happen more often to kids. Remember, everybody dreams even if you don't remember them. At least 95% of all dreams are forgotten. In your lifetime, you'll spend about 6 years of it dreaming. I hope you enjoy those 6 years of dreaming about magical adventures where anything can happen. Sweet dreams.
Imagine that you are riding a magic carpet into a faraway land through the pages of a fairy tale. Have the opportunity to meet and play with fairies, godmothers, dwarves, and run away from trolls, goblins, evil stepmothers, and witches. What if you could be the princess who finds her prince, or have the experience of kissing a frog? How sad would it be if there were no fairy tales to dream or read about? Let me explain why fairy tales are important. Fairy tales are stories about magical beings in a faraway land. Most of these stories are filled with magical creatures that kids can dream about or have nightmares about. But remember, fairy tales are fantasy, since there will never be a gingerbread man running around in any bakery, nor will anyone ever fall asleep for 100 years because of a poisoned apple. The origin of the word fairy comes from the Latin word fatum, meaning to enchant, or the French words fée, fairy, meaning illusion. Due to the magical nature of fairy tales, most children find them entertaining. While they can be found entertaining, the main purpose of fairy tales is to teach children valuable lessons and to build children's imaginations. There are many lessons that children can learn from these entertaining stories. For example, The Little Mermaid encourages children to try new things and to venture out of their comfort zone. Chicken Little is another fairy tale, and it teaches children how to think critically and helps kids make decisions based on reliable sources. Little Red Riding Hood teaches children whom to trust. Because Red trusted the big bad wolf, she ended up getting eaten. The Story of Three Little Pigs shows children that taking the shortcut has consequences, and if you take time and focus, you will have a better result. The story of Cinderella teaches us to be kind under all circumstances. Even though her stepmother and stepsisters treated her unfairly, Cinderella continued to be kind and obedient. Of the many lessons that fairy tales try to teach us, the common lesson is to teach us right from wrong. Fairy tales teach children that good will always be more powerful than evil. In the beginning of most fairy tales, evil witches and stepmothers seem more powerful than good godmothers and princesses. However, towards the end of the stories, hope, bravery, and kindness defeats evil. Although this may not always be true in the world we live in, this lesson is simple and important. Be the hero or heroine, not the villain. Fairy tales make it easier for children to remember lessons that we need to learn and apply in our daily lives. When parents and teachers try to simply give instructions of what to do and what not to do, kids will have more difficulty applying those lessons without a story to explain the moral. The fact that fairy tales are entertaining make the lessons easier to remember. Albert Einstein said, "If you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales." Now that we know the importance of fairy tales, let's continue to read them and build our own imaginations. Let's also remember to comprehend the lessons they try to teach.
How would you like to live fearless in the most powerful country in the whole world? How would you like to live in a country with a strong economy where jobs are available within our parents' reach? My dear friends, we were there. It was the year when Ronald Reagan was President of the United States of America. Allow me to share with you a glimpse of the colorful life of our 40th president. Ronald Wilson Reagan was born February 6, 1911 in Tampico, Illinois. As a young boy, his father called him Dutch because he looked like a fat little Dutchman with a Dutch boy haircut. His first job was a lifeguard. At the age of 16, where it was recorded that he performed 77 rescues. Then, he became a radio broadcaster, an actor, and even a captain of the Army Air Force Public Relations. On January 2nd, 1967, he became California governor, defeating Pat Brown, the father of our current governor, Jerry Brown. In 1981, Ronald Reagan became the 40th President of the United States of America. He was the oldest man elected as president at the age of 69. Just 69 days into office, John Hinckley Jr. shot him. With that, he became the only U.S. president who survived an assassination attempt. During his term as president, he was able to revive our flying economy by putting people back into jobs that make our independence to government aids. Towards his last term as president, he ended the Cold War with the Soviet Union to free the people in the communist country with the fall of the Berlin Wall. This is his famous speech. General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Finally, on June 5, 2004, after suffering from Alzheimer's disease, Ronald Reagan, the symbol of powerful America, who gained respect from other countries, who was able to revive our flying economy, died of pneumonia at the age of 93. My dear friends, we are the living legacy of Ronald Reagan. We are brave. We are blessed. We are rich in our own resources. Together, with pride, we can say, I live in the United States of America. Thank you.
Good morning. In today's world, women can be firefighters, police officers, and astronauts. Men can be chefs, teachers, and nurses. What kind of boy doesn't want to play house? What kind of girl doesn't want to play cops and robbers? Why is there such a controversy over girls playing with so-called boy toys and vice versa? I don't think it should matter one bit. First, it definitely teaches children multiple skills as they go into adulthood. Second, it teaches them to express themselves. Lastly, it teaches them to be a well-rounded person. So please, just remember that if you all realize your son wants to go to dance class or your daughter wants to play with action figures, it should be perfectly fine for you to give them that chance. Don't you think that children should learn different skills in life? Don't you think that children should be able to do whatever they want for a career? If children learn multiple skills, whether they are considered boy or girl skills, it teaches them at an early age that they would have a wider variety of career choices. While it's true that boys and girls have some brain differences, there's no reason why boys can't learn how to cook excellent meals and girls can't learn how a car engine works. For example, we need to teach them how to care for themselves. That means teaching boys to cook good meals and girls to fix things around the house. So says psychologist Melissa Kirk. Not all boys are the same or have the same interests. That goes the same way for girls. Children should be able to express themselves and be free to do whatever makes them happy. Developmental psychologist Ronnie Lederman believes that a child should have many different kinds of toys to assure full development of a normal and healthy imagination. Imagination? Does that mean to pretend or does that mean to become? The more skills a child can learn, the more well-rounded they will be. Most importantly, all kids of all ages should be able to play with dolls or action figures. It's a true statement that playing with dolls can be universal, especially for boys, which teaches them to be a good dad. Playing with dolls teaches them how to care for something. Also, it's good practice for becoming a good parent. Psychologist Laura Hutchinson says that baby dolls are packed with potential for teaching children about themselves and the world around them. For example, dolls help children practice social emotion skill, cognitive reframing, and prepares them to be a good adult. You and I know that most people go along with the traditional gender roles. For example, parents will give girls the chores to wash the dishes, and boys, they will have to mow the lawn. Many adults separate the proper toys or tasks with the proper genders. But in this day and age, it shouldn't matter at all. If girls want to be Spider-Man for Halloween, that should be okay. If boys want to be a witch for Halloween, that should be perfectly fine. Psychologists say children should be able to engage in any gender play to understand their world. The reason why boys should be able to play with girl toys and girls should be able to play with boy toys is because A, it teaches them different skills, B, the kids can learn to express themselves, and C, it most definitely teaches them to be a well-rounded person. So please just remember that if you all realize your son wants to go to dance class or your daughter wants to play with action figures, it's okay. You should give them that chance. Thank you.
Have you ever been texting and autocorrect steps in and changes what you were trying to say into something that is drastically different? It happens to all of us. Annoying, right? Well, we should put an end to conversation catastrophes by making the phone companies get rid of autocorrect, because autocorrect is actually auto-incorrect. Autocorrect must go, and here are 3 reasons why. First, it can ruin your relationships by getting you into some pretty bad misunderstandings. Next, it can make any situation way more awkward than it needs to be. And finally, you end up spending more time correcting the autocorrect and less time doing what you actually want to do. Autocorrect can ruin your relationships. Let's say you accidentally text something rude or insensitive and your friend thought you meant it. Even when you try to explain, they just don't believe you. You just lost a friend due to autocorrect. This can ruin your life. Do you want this to happen to you? I didn't think so. Autocorrect can get you into some terrible misunderstandings. What if you were texting some bad news, like your great aunt just passed away? This is a low day for this family. And it autocorrected low to this is a LOL, laugh out loud day for this family. That would be horrendous. Autocorrect can get you into loads of misunderstandings, which can ruin your relationships, so it needs to be taken away, never to be seen by anyone ever again. Yes, autocorrect was made to help with grammar and spelling issues, which seems wonderful at first, but left unattended, it can destroy your life. You may say it's important for making it look like you can spell to impress your friends, but honestly, no one cares about spelling, other than your teachers. At least your friends won't care. Next, autocorrect can make any situation way more awkward than it needs to be. For instance, I was texting my friend, "I like you for who you are," and it autocorrected to, "I like you for who you ate." Awkward. It just made the whole situation go from meaningful to uncomfortable with one tap of a finger. Another example of a very awkward moment was when a husband was texting his wife. He says, "Oh, I love you so much. I wish I could buy you a casket." She receives the text and is all like, "What? Should I be concerned?" He quickly types back, "A castle. I mean a castle. Darn autocorrect. Way to ruin a moment." No response from wife. Hello? Lastly, autocorrect can have you spending more time correcting the autocorrect and less time doing what you actually want to do. Do you want to spend minutes, hours, or maybe even days explaining and correcting autocorrect's mistakes? Depending on how deep the trouble you're in with your friends, family member, coworker, boss, parents, the list could go on. You may have some splaining to do. This will keep you from enjoying your life because you are worrying about the relationship mayhem autocorrect has caused. In conclusion, sure, autocorrect was made for helping with grammar and spelling issues, but it can do more damage than it's worth by ruining relationships with misunderstandings, turning great moments into awkward situations, and by having you spend more time correcting the autocorrect that you don't have time to do what you actually want to do. Autocorrect is auto-incorrect. Let's make the phone companies delete autocorrect. Now I'm going to go sit on the beach, draw a seascape, paint my nails, read a book, people watch, and drink a lemonade. My phone is off.
As we get older, we will have to make several decisions about what to do in life. One of these choices is whether or not we should smoke cigarettes. I don't think we should smoke cigarettes because smoking is bad for your health, smoking pollutes the air, and finally, smoking is costly. Cigarettes are bad for your health because they contain over 4,000 chemicals, many of which are poison. The American Cancer Society says that if you smoke, you increase the risk of getting lung cancer and cancers of the mouth, lips, nose, throat, stomach, kidney, and liver. Smokers also increase the risk of having high blood pressure, heart disease, or a stroke. Smoking cigarettes is dangerous because it can be hard to stop. Cigarettes contain nicotine, which is highly addictive. According to the American Cancer Society, 9 out of 10 adult smokers started by the age of 18, so I don't think you should smoke because it's bad for your health.
Smoking pollutes the air and the environment through secondhand smoke. Smoking produces secondhand smoke, and secondhand smoke is the smoke that is breathed in by non-smokers. Secondhand smoke is toxic and is known to cause all the same health-related problems just like smokers. Breathing secondhand smoke not only affects adults, but also children. Smoking cigarettes can pollute the air and the environment by the trash that is produced. Cigarettes are toxic even when they are thrown away. Many people think that cigarettes are biodegradable, but they are not because cigarette filters contain plastic, and plastic is not biodegradable. Cigarette trash pollutes our waterways and soil, which can harm our wildlife. TobaccoFreeCalifornia.com said that in 2010, over 1 million cigarettes were collected from our inland waterways during the coastal cleanup. Discarded lit cigarettes can cause fires in both homes and outdoors. For example, in 2002, at Camp Pendleton, a military base in San Diego, there was a 247-acre fire that was started by a cigarette that was thrown out of a car window. So I don't think you should smoke because it pollutes the air and the environment. The third reason I don't think you should smoke is that it's costly. The average price of a pack of cigarettes in California is $5.19. If someone were to smoke a pack a day, the total cost for smoking for 1 year would be $1,894.35. In addition to paying for cigarettes, smoking can increase the cost of healthcare. Remember that long list of health risks? Those can mean more doctor visits or medications. The New England Journal of Medicine says that healthcare costs for smokers can be 40% higher than for non-smokers. Another way smoking is costly is the personal hygiene and home maintenance will be higher. Many smokers spend money on teeth whitening because smoking can cause yellow teeth. Cleaning carpets and furniture can also be expensive, and let's face it, not a lot of people want to buy a home that stinks like smoke. In the end, think of all the other things you could buy. So I don't think you should smoke because it's costly. You may think smoking is cool, but it's not. The side effects of smoking can be very serious and or fatal. So I don't think you should smoke because it's bad for your health, it will pollute the air and the environment, and finally, smoking is costly. Be smart, don't start.
Would be so much better without you. If you think that this is offensive and hurtful, then can you imagine how hurt thousands of teens must feel when they become victims of cyberbullying? Cyberbullying is using any kind of technology to hurt or embarrass another person. And since 7 out of 10 young people today are experiencing cyberbullying in some way, this topic relates to all of us. So today, I'm going to persuade you with three reasons why schools should punish cyberbullies. First of all, schools should punish cyberbullies because they affect our health and well-being at school. Research from NoBullying.com states that 70% of cyberbully victims suffer from poor self-esteem, depression, and poor attendance. Cyberbullies are destructive because they have access to us 24 hours a day, their audience is unlimited, and their attacks follow us to our classroom. For example, imagine if I were to go on Instagram and create a fake profile of you. I would post embarrassing things about you, like I love to eat dog food, and I have a crush on so-and-so. I would post humiliating fake pictures of you. You will be so ashamed
break into your house, would you lock your pit bulls up in a closet and let the thief come in to harm you? No! You would unleash your pit bull and let them sink their teeth into anyone who tries to do you harm. The same way AB 256 gives our schools teeth to sink into cyberbullies so they can't harm us. Oh sure, our opponents might argue, schools shouldn't punish cyberbullying because it doesn't happen on campus. These kids are posting things at home, not at school. This argument is completely false. This is exactly the reason why Congress passed AB 256. Because they understand that cyberbullying is the same as regular bullying. When someone humiliates you online, you're the one who has to go to school the next day and see that people are looking at you like some diseased freak. In conclusion, due to the fact that cyberbullying affects our health and well-being at school, schools are responsible for our safety, and Congress passed AB 256, schools now have the moral and legal obligation to punish cyberbullies. So cyberbullies beware. You need to postpone your post, terminate your Twitter, incinerate your Instagram, and vanquish your Vine. Cyberbullying is now a crime, and schools can make you pay your time. Thank you.
Have you heard of a Toto toilet? Do you know what it's like to ride a lightning-fast bullet train that all you see in the window is just a blur of objects you pass? Have you witnessed snow in July? Are you interested to see the world's most perfectly shaped volcano called Mount Fuji? How about watching an amazing parade of protected small penguins emerge from the ocean depths after hunting to march to their colonies as they cautiously avoid their main predators, the foxes? Have you seen Asian elephants paint magnificent art pieces? These are just a few examples of the delights and pleasures of traveling and why kids should travel. As the saying goes, the world is a book. Those who do not travel read only a page. Traveling has many benefits for children of all ages that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. Traveling the world provides children of all ages an education that simply cannot be matched by any textbook, TV show, movie, or story. You can learn so much from a new place. Currency might be absolutely different compared to your own. Have you seen a euro? It's very different compared to their U.S. counterpart in design and value. Other types of currency are also unique. New animals as well might be new and exciting towards you. And experience and more knowledge about an animal you've only seen on TV also might occur when you travel. In Australia, I got to cuddle a koala and snorkel in the Great Barrier Reef. In Costa Rica, I witnessed endangered giant green turtles that were as big as dining tables laying eggs on the beach. Those events were more informational than something you'll see on National Geographic or a book. If animals aren't your thing, then learn more about the other parts of the world. The culture, geography, weather, and actually seeing the real deal are things you'll learn from new places. You've seen the Eiffel Tower on TV, but have you climbed it or seen all its splendor in person? I did when I was 5. Just looking and appreciating the architecture and culture will provide you with so much information without even reading. You'll picture yourself in Paris in the chilly times of revolutionary France and the German occupation of Paris. Traveling is the ultimate learning technique to be taught about anything. Secondly, new things sound fun, yes? Well, traveling will introduce you to plenty of new things to experience. New foods will be available for you. Have you tried Nagasaki noodles? It is delicious. Full of flavor and very different compared to any other noodle. Tired of English? Travel. You'll encounter strange, unique languages. You might get interested in them and learn them. You'll see new locations such as the mountainous region of the Andes in South America, or instead of a boat ride, my mom and I rode a motorized canoe through the Amazon River and trekked the forest with the Amazonian tribe, the Quechua, as our guides. You may also experience new cultures and traditions. In American culture, they remove the eyes and guts of a fish when they're to eat it. My family's culture is Filipino. In Filipino culture, we keep the eyes and guts. Both cultures are different, but you'll find some similarities. Traveling is not only fun, but you get to experience new things and surroundings. Most importantly, however, traveling provides you a chance to spend quality time with your family, a rarity at home because of the temptation of electronics such as computers and video games. Traveling provides you to experience fun activities you've never done before with your family, like ziplining through the thick rainforest with howler monkeys as companions and eating the best pizza, gelato, and pasta in Italy. Fun activities you experience with your family also give you a chance to be under the sun and move. Traveling is the ultimate family bonder. Traveling is expensive and tiring, I hear you complaining. Well, to start traveling doesn't mean immediately going to China. Start small. Another city, another part of your state, another state, or heck, even a nearby country like Mexico. In fact, Mexico is a driving distance from Santa Cruz. You may think, though, that the surrounding cities have all the same things. No, that is not the case in California. The biggest Chinatown in the world is located in San Francisco. It's Beijing at your front door. I've been to 5 continents at age 11. Traveling these places has taught me and made me experience new things and, more importantly, spend quality time with my mom. The Dalai Lama of Tibet said, once a year, go someplace you've never been before, and that is my challenge for you this summer. For me, it is the Cossack Explorer Tour through magnificent Europe or an African safari to witness the great migration of wildebeest. Where are you going to go?
Imagine yourself inside a car listening to music on the radio. You are enjoying the music until a rap song comes on. Disappointed by this song, you decide to change the station without even bothering to listen further. However, I would like you to reconsider this unwise choice. The truth is, listening to rap is good for you and your life. You should listen to rap music because many of these songs are inspirational and relate to many people. Rap music helps students study, and rappers discuss socially conscious issues in their songs. Rap can positively impact your life. Many pop or rock bands talk about unimportant events such as dance parties. On the other hand, rap songs exude inspiration and relate to people of all ages. Kids who are bullied can make connections with rappers who were once bullied, such as Eminem. Eminem has won 13 Grammys in his career, and he gives advice in his songs to kids who are being bullied. A song by Eminem called Lose Yourself was voted the best song, which creates confidence inside people. One line from this song is, you better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it, you better never let it go, which means that you should never waste a chance that is given to you. As you can see, rap creates links and inspiration in many people. Have you ever gone off track while trying to finish homework or a report? Well, according to a study published in Psychology of Music, music such as rap increased productivity of work done by students. It helps kids to stay motivated by having them decrease the stress and exhaustion of studying and encourages them to continue what they are doing with their upbeat contents and messages. Evidently, rap songs form enthusiasm and eagerness in studying. Some of you might be thinking, modern rap music gives bad influences to people. However, the modern rap songs that you may be thinking about are actually not considered rap. Rap was invented in New York City in the 1970s by many people who were offended by racism and were in poverty. These people became the first rappers by expressing in music how people stereotyped them just because of their skin color or lack of money. The songs that they made developed into rap, which talked about the imperfectness of the world. Unfortunately, as time passed, people who misunderstood the meaning of rap started to sing about inappropriate or unrealistic events. These new songs that were made are not rap because the songs lost their original spirit. Therefore, most modern songs that we think fit in the genre of rap are actually completely different. Many rappers express social consciousness or the awareness of the negative things that are occurring globally in their songs. Rappers such as Immortal Technique, Lupe Fiasco, and Akala talk about controversial issues in politics, poverty, and racism. Recently, the rapper Common, along with John Legend, won an Academy Award and Golden Globe Award for Best Original Song for their rap song called Glory, that was focused on the march from Selma to Montgomery, led by Martin Luther King Jr. Socially conscious rapping can be the key to an intelligent generation. Furthermore, listening to the genre of rap is excellent for you and your life. The songs that rappers create relate to many people as well as being inspirational. Rap music is an amazing tool that can help you study, and social consciousness is expressed in many lyrics of these songs. Rap can be the greatest influence of your life.
As you may already know, a vegetarian is a person that does not eat meat and usually other products made up of animal. When people become vegetarian, it is sometimes because of their love for animals, the kind that's alive, of course. Being vegetarian means you can't eat bacon or food that was once some type of animal. Some people strongly believe in animal rights, so they become vegetarian. Some just think it is a healthier lifestyle. A man named Cesar Estrada Chavez said, "We know we cannot be kind to animals until we stop exploiting them. Exploiting animals in the name of science, in the name of sport, in the name of fashion, and yes, exploiting animals in the name of food." I would like to persuade you on the topic of why you should become a vegetarian. The first reason to become a vegetarian is that it is good for your health. Vegetarian diets, in general, lower your chances of getting heart disease, some forms of cancer, and having high blood pressure. In Western countries, vegetarians can even live longer than non-vegetarians. According to one website, differences in lifestyle, not just eating habits, also play a huge role in vegetarian health. People who choose to follow a vegetarian diet are often non-smokers, have a lower body weight, and exercise regularly. People that are vegetarians tend to eat more fruit, vegetables, and grains. Eating vegetables and fruits may lower blood pressure and help to decrease the chance of bone loss. Just eating less meat has a protective effect. A National Cancer Institute study of 500,000 people found that those who ate the most red meat daily were 30% more likely to die of any cause during a 10-year period than those who ate the least amount of red meat. The next reason to become a vegetarian is the types of vegetarians that are out there. Vegetarians do not eat meat, poultry, or fish. Many people make exceptions to some foods, which true vegetarians don't eat. There are names for people like this. The first is vegan, which is the most restricting diet. A vegan doesn't consume any animal products or animal byproducts. An animal byproduct is any material derived from the body of an animal. So vegans, of course, do not eat any kinds of meat. They also don't eat products such as honey or dairy. Vegans do not use or wear animal products such as silk, leather, or wool. The next types of vegetarians are lacto, ovo, and lacto-ovo vegetarians. Lacto-vegetarians do not eat meat, fish, fowl, or eggs, although they do eat dairy products. Ovo-vegetarians don't eat meat, fish, fowl, or dairy, but do consume egg products. Lacto-ovo vegetarians do not eat meat, fish, or fowl. However, lacto-ovo vegetarians consume dairy and egg products. This is the most common type of vegetarian. The last type of vegetarians are pescatarian and flexitarian. Pescatarians, while typically not a type of vegetarian, eat seafood but not fish or fowl. A flexitarian diet is not considered a vegetarian diet as it is plant-based with the occasional meat item consumed. 50% of America's population is some type of vegetarian. My last reason to become a vegetarian is the conditions of the factories they keep the animals in. One article and video shows that on today's factory farms, animals are crammed by the thousands into filthy, windowless sheds and confined to wire cages, barren dirt lots, and other cruel confinement systems. These animals will never raise their families, root around in soil, build nests, or do anything that is natural and important to them. Most will not even feel the sun on their backs or breathe fresh air until the day they are loaded onto trucks bound for slaughter. The giant corporations that run most factory farms have found that they make more money by cramming animals into tiny spaces, even though many of the animals get sick and some die. When they have finally grown large enough, animals raised for food are crowded onto trucks and transported over many miles, typically without food or water, through all weather extremes to the slaughterhouse. Those who do survive this nightmare of a journey will have their throats slit, often while they are still conscious. Many remain conscious when they are plunged into scalding hot water of the defeathering or hair removal tanks, or while their bodies are being skinned. As you can see, A vegetarian lifestyle is a better option. Becoming a vegetarian may not only help you, but the animals around you. The reasons to become a vegetarian are the health benefits, the many types to choose from, and the quality of the factories they keep the animals in. Thank you.
Call of Duty and Destiny are first-person shooter games that involve fighting, shooting of guns, explosions, and violent themes. Some people say that the violence that is continuous throughout the games will have an effect on the people playing the games by causing them to be more violent in their behavior. I have been playing video games, violent and non-violent, for over 8 years, and I believe this theory to be incorrect. Because of video games, players have a way to release anger instead of committing to violence on real people. Studies and tests proving a link between violent behavior and video games have many flaws. Video game sales have increased, while juvenile and youth crime has decreased. This leads other people and myself to believe that video games do not cause violence. Many people have anger issues, and everyone gets angry once in a while. However, violent video games are a helpful way to release this anger instead of committing to violence on real people or living things. According to Cheryl Olson, Lawrence Kuttner, and Dorothy Warner from the Journal of Adolescent Research, playing violent video games reduces violence in adolescence by serving as a substitute for rough and tumble play. This means that players take out their aggression on the game, therefore actually reducing violence in youths. In a survey of 1,000 random players, 62% said it helps me relax to play shooting or fighting games. This means that violent adolescents are coming in, and instead of hitting a friend or family member, they're relaxing themselves while having fun playing a violent video game. The connection between violent behavior and video games in studies done by people who believe video games cause violence are flawed. Stated by Dimitri Williams and Marco Skorik from Internet Fantasy Violence, A Test of Aggression in an Online Game, a casual link between video games and violent behavior has not been proven. Many studies suffer from design flaws or unreliable measures of violence. This means violent behavior in players on most tests were inaccurate. This may be due to test design problems or making the players scared in order to commit to violence. If it were true that video games do cause violence, then increased sales of video games would result in more youth crimes or acts of violence, right? Actually, over a 13-year study done by the FBI, youth violence and crime has decreased by 49.3%, and youth murders have decreased by almost 72%. In this same period, video game sales have quadrupled, and we're still rising. Instead of violence going up with video game sales, the exact opposite happened. The people that believe that violent video games influence real-world violence need to rethink the topic. Violent games are a great way to relieve any anger players have. Studies proving differently are flawed, and video game sales have increased as violence in adolescence has decreased. Without video games, people may take out their anger on friends or family members instead of picking up a controller and playing Call of Duty or Destiny.
Zoos, aren't they just amazing? I know many of you have been to a zoo and thought it was just wonderful. Well, you thought wrong. None of you have seen what happens to animals when people aren't there. It's terrible. Animals belong in the wild. So today we're going to find out why zoos are bad for animals. There are 3 reasons that I will mention why zoos are bad. The first reason is that zoos are miserable and are causing animals to be unhappy. I know that the majority of you love animals, so why are you supporting zoos? They cannot provide sufficient space for animals because no matter how much space zookeepers think they're giving animals, it's not the same space they'll have in the wild. Lions and tigers have 18,000 times less space. In 2010, a CAPS undercover investigator saw sick animals left untreated and dead animals left to rot at the Turtle Farm Zoo. The Woburn Safari Park keeps its lions locked up in a small cage for 18 hours a day. How would you feel if you were stuck behind a cage? Animals feel just like us, and right now the animals in a zoo are unhappy because they want to play, be free, have families, and not have their babies taken away from them or be stuck behind a cage. Second of all, zoos say that they're trying to save a rare animal just so you can come and spend your money. Zoos also say that they treat their animals well, but they can't even feed their animals correctly. Often when animals are in a zoo, the zoo says that the animals are used to conserve the population in the wild, but several animals have larger populations in a zoo. 15,000 tigers are privately owned in the USA, and there's only a few thousand in the wild. Also, zookeepers won't free those several populations because they're using the animals for money. What's even worse is that they can't even feed their animals properly. Zebras at the National Zoo starve to death because of insufficient food. Red pandas at the same zoo died after ingesting rat poison. Why is it that animals have to die in order for people to make money, or the fact that somebody feeds them wrong? My third reason is that animals are being killed and are dying prematurely. I bet many of you like giraffes. Well, in 2014, Copenhagen Zoo killed a young giraffe named Maurice, and this was only last year. In 2006, a whole pack of wolves at Highland Park were killed because the pack was breaking apart. Also, in 2001, an inspection of the Dartmoor Wildlife Park found several dead animals in the food freezer. That's like sticking your pet in the refrigerator. The European Association members of zoos and aquariums found that in 2007, members of zoos were actively encouraging to kill unwanted animals. 40% out of 100% doesn't seem like it could do any harm. Unless that was the percent of lion cubs that die before a month of age, which it is. 30% of those cubs die because there are factors absent in a zoo the wild has. Some zoos and people may argue the fact that zoos can educate us. The fact that zoos have a variety of programs teach people the needs of animals and the importance of conservation is how the zoos educate us. If people are excited with the programs, they might donate money to conservation efforts. The zoos try to have you spend your money again on conservation efforts that don't exist. Zoos may think they educate us, but they really don't. According to a study, visitors pay more attention to each other than the animal or program. Now you know that zoos aren't wonderful, and that it's terrible to keep an animal locked up instead of have it be free to play and roam. The reason why is that zoos are miserable, because they're making animals unhappy. Zoos trick you into spending your money that isn't used for the animals' needs, and that animals are being killed and are dying prematurely. So please, help the animals in a zoo from suffering and help them gain their rightful place in the wild. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, D-Generation X proudly brings to you its World Wrestling Entertainment Tag Team Champions of the World. This phrase, as well as others, greets fans on May nights to start World Wrestling Entertainment television shows. Now, because WWE is scripted, people call these hard-working wrestlers non-athletes, but honestly, nothing could be further from the truth. The wrestlers perform highly dangerous athletic moves on a nightly basis. Many of them are world-class athletes in various sports, and they often suffer injuries while performing, as much or more than any other athlete. I say that Roman Reigns, Jeff Hardy, and The Undertaker are athletes just like Mike Trout, Peyton Manning, and Jonathan Quick are. Even though a dive and catch in baseball or a slam dunk in basketball are well-known athletic moves, to wrestling fans everywhere, moves such as the Tombstone Piledriver, the 619, and the DDT are just as well known. For instance, Jeff Hardy performs a move called the Swanton Bomb. It is a move in which he starts on top of the ring rope, jumps in the air, and while coming down, flips his body around at the last possible moment and lands backwards on his opponent. Whew, that's a mouthful. As complicated as it is to explain, you can imagine how difficult it is to perform. This particular move has even been performed from as high as 30 feet in the air off the scaffolding above the ring. If this alone is not enough to convince you that these people are amazing athletes, let's take a look at what type of people become wrestlers. Many of them have world-class athletic backgrounds. As you would imagine, some are collegiate and Olympic wrestlers, such as Kurt Angle, 1996 Olympic gold medalist. Others come from sports, such as football, like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who won a national championship at the University of Miami in 1991. And believe it or not, Macho Man Randy Savage had a minor league contract with the Cincinnati Reds baseball team. On a daily basis, professional athletes put themselves at risk of injury while playing their sports, and wrestlers are no different. During a match between The Undertaker and Mankind, a malfunction occurred, and Mankind fell over 20 feet from the top of a steel cage to the ring below, suffering loss of teeth, a broken jaw, a dislocated shoulder, and loss of consciousness. There are people who believe that since WWE is scripted and not a real competitive sport, the participants are more like performers than athletes. Sure, wrestling is just a bunch of long-haired, sweaty men wearing tights, jabbing each other in sides and face, and pain is not inflicted at all. Despite the fact that the outcome is scripted, it doesn't make the moves or work put into the performance any less athletic. As it states in the article, How Wrestling Works by Ed Grabianowski, most wrestlers are exceptional athletes who train for many hours each day to maintain their physical condition. They suffer many injuries, sometimes severe. There's certainly nothing fake about flying 20 feet through the air off the top rope. Wrestlers are extremely accomplished athletes. They perform highly dangerous athletic moves on a nightly basis. Many of them have backgrounds as world-class athletes in other sports, and despite the fact that the outcome is predetermined, these athletes are at a risk of injury while performing. In the immortal words of the legendary wrestler, Stone Cold Steve Austin, that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so.
Before I start talking about what I think is right and wrong, let me ask you a few questions. About how often do you visit a fast food restaurant every week? More than 3 times? What do you usually get at a fast food restaurant? A hamburger? Fries? And last, why do you eat fast food? Because it's convenient? Fast food may seem convenient, but I can prove to you that it's really not. About 100,000 Americans eat fast food every day. We eat fast food because it has benefits. Before ordering the tempting, easy fast food, though, we need to think about our lives and our health. Should fast food really exist, or join Pluto in the misery of extinction? I'll give you 3 reasons for why you should not eat fast food. First, fast food just isn't healthy. Second, it contains ingredients that customers should be informed about, but are not. Third, fast food is not worth its cost. So I say today, fast food is not a good option for people of all ages. Fast food isn't the healthiest choice out there. It doesn't provide enough nutrients for our bodies, and especially our bodies as we're grown kids. Fast food has too many calories in it, and too many calories can lead to horrible diseases like type 2 diabetes. We need to turn to food choices that will help our bodies instead of fast food. Why order an unhealthy burger when you could be happily munching on something much more appetizing? We need to say no to fast food and find more ways to help people, not kill them. Fast food doesn't use the right ingredients. You may be tempted to have a bite of that delicious hamburger once you get the smell of it, but then again, maybe you won't after you hear that the beef is only 36% real beef. I wonder what the other 64% is. Fat? Chemicals? You name it.
Also, fast food chicken nuggets are made by grinding up a chicken carcass. Is this really reasonable? It's confusing to try to understand why fast food restaurants have to use strange fake items. Another example. So fast food chains use a premium egg blend in their eggs, including a substance found in silly putty and concrete. Fast food consists of a variety of preservative chemicals that can make a hamburger last up to 14 years. That's older than me. There's still so much for us to learn about fast food and what it contains. You may think that fast food is cheap and quick, but it's not so cheap. A family meal at McDonald's ranges from $20 to $30, but I did some research and found that a 20 potato bag for French fries is only $5. Also, a ground beef package for hamburgers is only $4. Even together, they can be cheaper than a family meal at McDonald's. You could cook something healthy and at a much cheaper price. Fast food just simply isn't worth it. Why do people eat so much fast food? We need to think twice before enjoying some fast food that we have paid good money for. Again, fast food is not healthy, contains ingredients that customers should be informed about but are not, and is not worth its cost. If fast food doesn't improve its quality, ingredients, and value, fast food will not succeed. Don't delay the stop and put real food at the top. Every time you eat fast food, you are damaging your body from inside out. You can help save the world by simply refusing fast food. So next time your parent asks you if you want fast food, stand up to them and say no to fast food.
Many people think my child doesn't need vaccines or my child doesn't need a shot that prevent diseases. Newsflash, they're actually better off in life if they get vaccines. I bet that you didn't know that about 140,000 people die of vaccine-preventable diseases each year. Yes, about 140,000 people die of vaccine-preventable diseases each year. Hello, I'm Ethan, and vaccines are good for you. One big reason is that vaccines prevent diseases that are, in many cases, very dangerous. Okay, now imagine that you're in the hospital and you can't move, all because you got the measles disease. And you feel terrible. You have a giant rash from up and down and sideways and ish. You can possibly go through this terrible situation if you don't get the MMR or mumps, measles, and rubella vaccine. But hey, the measles isn't the only vaccine-preventable disease there are. There are mumps, rubella, hepatitis A and B, tetanus, chickenpox, polio, and influenza, or the flu, as many of you know it. The flu now, it has killed more than any other disease in the U.S. According to Shot Health News from NPR, approximately 23,607 people die of the flu each year. And the flu is the most common disease in the U.S. Okay, now some parents might think, my child doesn't need a shot that probably isn't the right one and only lasts a season. Well, guys, I'm sure that scientists are pretty sure that the vaccine is the right one, and it is always better to be safe than sorry. My second reason is that vaccines are safe and effective. Many people think it's hygiene and sanitation that prevent diseases. These are great helpers, but they don't have as much of an effect, other than vaccinations. And now here's something that you'll be flipping on. According to Health Impact News, about 540,000 people had the measles back in 1960. And then in 1962, when the measles vaccine came to the public, the number of people with the measles started depleting. And in 1970, only about 100,000 people had the measles. So this is a huge drop in the number of people with the measles in just 8 years. But in 2000, only about 50,000 people had the measles. So this is a huge reason and supporting evidence why vaccines are safe and effective and why you should just get them in general. My last reason is that vaccines will keep you healthy. Many people must get vaccinated because their immune systems are not as strong. I myself have a blood disorder, so my immune system isn't as strong. If I haven't been vaccinated, I could probably get very, very ill. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, recommend getting vaccinated from birth through adulthood. Individuals who don't get vaccinated have a higher chance of illness and long-term suffering. Many people get diseases and they'll possibly get other diseases later on in life. For example, when you get the chickenpox, the shingles virus is already inside you. According to recent scientific studies, 1 out of 3 people who get the chickenpox will also get the shingles. It's likely that you know from January 7th through February 3rd, there was a measles outbreak in Disneyland. And since Disneyland is very crowded, the number of cases started to spread fast. It started off with only 1 person, and at the end of the 3rd day, January 9th, there were already 12 people with the measles. Eventually, there were 17 people with the measles, and they were all linked to the Disneyland outbreak. But guess what? It doesn't end there. These 17 people spread to other places, such as Long Beach, and spread it there. But the thing is, the measles all started at Disneyland, the happiest place on earth. Many people don't get vaccinated because they think vaccines will lead to autism. There is no scientific proof of autism in vaccines. Also, people don't get vaccinated because there aren't vaccines for all diseases. This is true, yet scientists are working very hard to try to get vaccines for Ebola, the UCLA superbug, and all those terrible outbreaks. I hope you can see now the importance of vaccines and why you should get them throughout your lifetime. Thank you.
So there you are, 100, no, 1,000 clothes piled high in front of you. You only have a couple minutes until school begins to decide what to wear, but nothing seems to match, and you don't want to let your fashionista reputation just go to waste. You quickly grab a small pile of clothes, pick out a shirt and pants, and throw it on. School begins, and you're endlessly humiliated on your choice of clothes. Wouldn't you rather wake up in the morning to see your school uniform nicely laid out in your bed? You throw it on and go to school without being humiliated? That's what I thought. Students should wear school uniforms, and there are 3 reasons why. The first reason why students should wear school uniforms is because it focuses our minds on schoolwork, not on our appearance. Eliminating the focus of how we dress increases academics while decreasing the chance of being made fun of or being bullied because of clothing. BullyingStatistics.org states that a reported 15% of students miss a day or so of school, saying that they fear of being bullied. The National Association of Elementary School Principals at NAESP.org states on a survey done on schools that school uniforms has a 64% increase on schoolwork achievement, an 85% increase on classroom discipline, and a 44% increase on overall attendance. The second reason why students should wear school uniforms is because it saves us the time and hassle usually spent on getting dressed in the morning. NAESP.org states that 93% of time usually spent on getting dressed in the morning is saved with school uniforms. It also states that it's 92% easier to get dressed in the morning with these uniforms. I timed myself one morning to see how long it took me to get dressed. My time was 8 minutes and 47 seconds. I timed myself again to see how long it took me to get dressed when my outfit was ready, like a school uniform. My time was 1 minute and 3 seconds. I saved about 7 minutes with school uniforms. The third and final reason why students should wear school uniforms is because buying school uniforms are cheaper than buying yearly school outfits. Capital One states that 32% of parents plan on spending $100 or less on their kids' school clothes, but 21% spends $200 or more on their kids' school clothes. NAESP.org states that school uniforms are an estimated $150 or less. My mom spent a lot more than $150 on my school clothes this year. NAESP.org shows that 86% of survey respondents believe that school uniforms are less costly than yearly school outfits. I know. When we wear our own choice of clothes, we show our personalities. But when we wear school uniforms, we don't show any personalities. When we wear our own choice of clothes, some of us tend to get distracted from schoolwork and worry more of our appearance. School was made for learning, and if clothes get in the way, maybe we should just wear the same outfits. Therefore, we would worry more on what we came to school for and less on what we're wearing to school. School should always come before clothes. One way to motivate or reward students is by giving them a casual day in which they can wear whatever they want, allowing them to show a little bit of their own personalities. In conclusion, students should wear school uniforms, and there are 3
reasons why. The first reason why students should wear school uniforms is because it focuses our minds on schoolwork, not on our appearance, reducing the fear of being bullied. 2, it saves us the time and hassle, usually spent on getting dressed in the morning. And 3, buying school uniforms are cheaper than buying yearly school outfits. So the next time I ask you, school uniforms or your choice of clothes, be prepared to say school uniforms.